The First World War was supposed to be the war to end all wars. But in a muddy corner of Belgium, where soldiers drowned in fields instead of rivers, and the dead were stacked so deep they became the very ground men walked on, something ancient and unforgiving was born, and it never left. Passchendaele. Even the name sounds heavy. It rolls off the tongue like a tombstone. It was part of the Third Battle of Ypres in 1917, a push by British forces to break through German lines. Over 500,000 men fought and died in rain, blood, and rot. Shellfire churned the earth so violently that bodies were obliterated, graves destroyed, and the entire landscape became one massive, fetid swamp of limbs, bones, and broken screams. And in that swamp, something awakened. It started with the mud. Soldiers reported that the mud wasn't natural. It sucked men down even when they stood still. Horses, artillery, entire battalions were swallowed whole in silence. The mud moved like it had intent. It seemed to grab, to cling, to pull. Men swore they saw hands in it, gray, waterlogged fingers reaching up, trying to drag them under, dismissed as panic, as trench fatigue. But then the sounds began. Screams, not human, not quite. They echoed even when there was no shelling, long-stretched howls that came from beneath the earth. Men who had lived through the Somme said they had never heard anything like it. One officer called them the dead sobbing. In a trench called Dugout 12, men began waking up covered in cuts, long, deep scratches across their backs and chests. No one had seen or heard anything. One man, Corporal Aldridge, carved out his own eyes with a mess tin, shouting that the faces under the floor won't stop staring. He died before he could say more. After that, Dugout 12 was sealed and marked off limits. But every morning soldiers found fresh footprints leading to and from it. Bare, muddy, inhuman footprints. To this day, it remains buried, untouched. Locals claim you can still hear scratching from beneath the mound that covers it. Entire squads started going missing. No gunfire, no signs of battle, just silence. When reinforcements arrived, they found rifles stacked neatly, boots placed side by side, but no bodies. One journal, left behind, had a final entry. They rose from the mire, wearing our faces, but their eyes are wrong. As the battle dragged on, the weather grew worse. Fog so thick it silenced rifles. Rain that stank like blood. And always the whispers. The low murmur of voices underfoot, like thousands of dead soldiers chanting in a forgotten language. A chaplain went mad reading from the Psalms, then started laughing. Laughing so hard his lungs collapsed. By the end of the campaign, Passchendaele was little more than a haunted ruin. Victory came at a price no man could calculate. And when the war ended, the generals left. The armies marched on. But Passchendaele remained, a mass grave without walls. Then came World War II. When Nazi troops moved through Belgium in 1940, a panzer unit was sent to scout the old Passchendaele sector. They entered the fog. None returned. When a recovery team arrived, they found the tanks abandoned, engines still warm, their tracks leading in endless circles around the old trenches. A single soldier was discovered wandering, his face frozen in a scream, tongue bitten clean through, dog tags clutched in his hand like a cross. British intelligence, years later, found reports of Nazi engineers marking the area as geologically cursed. They had tried drilling into the mud for samples but hit what they described as spongy resistance. Cameras lowered into boreholes captured frames of movement, shapes sliding past the lens, dragging bones in their wake. They sealed the hole with concrete. After the war, the Belgian government attempted to build memorials, but construction crews refused to stay. Tools disappeared, shadows moved on their own. One worker claimed he saw a group of soldiers marching toward him, uniforms mismatched, some from World War II, some from earlier centuries. As they neared, their faces blurred and melted into mud. He left the country the next day. To this day, Passchendaele is quiet, too quiet. Locals won't walk the fields after dark. Birds never fly overhead. And satellite imagery sometimes picks up glitches, movement patterns that don't match wind or weather. They ripple through the soil in shapes eerily similar to old trench maps. The area is now fenced off in sections, labeled unstable ground, but those who know, they call it something else. The sorrow pit. And the strangest thing of all? It keeps growing. Every few years, the area of soft, dangerous earth expands slightly. No one can explain why, but some believe the battlefield is feeding, still hungry, still remembering. War isn't just a clash of nations. It's a ritual, a summoning. And at Passchendaele, something was conjured in the blood and agony of 500,000 souls, something that refuses to die. So if you ever find yourself in Belgium and the fog starts to roll in and you hear faint weeping beneath your feet, don't run, don't speak, and whatever you do, don't look down.